Welcome everybody to Square and Compass Promotions and another episode of the Square and Compass podcast. Tonight we got Worship Brother Igor Strukan. He is as of this filming, he's Senior Warden of Windsor Lodge, but by the time this comes out, he will be the Worshipful Master, and it's on camera now, so if you get voted in, you're stuck.
Also past master of Harmony Lodge, so this is
No, that's not there, that's just your admin.
means I do know some things. But Cameron, thanks for having me on this. I appreciate it. So you want to talk about what we did today?
I do. But first, shout out to I always get your name mixed up. What's your name? Sorry.
Nicholas James.
Nicholas James, who is running the camera for us. Turn the camera on. Say hello.
Hello, folks. Nice to meet you.
There he is. You already met them. You were on the last podcast. Say hello.
Hello, how are you? Hope you're having a great evening.
No idea what the camera showed, but it's probably creepy. I'm going to be talking about Masonry and Freemasonry in pop culture and different depictions in music, in movies, in television, in print literature. Talking about the poem.
Yes.
So tonight, though, for our very first Masonry in popular culture, we watched From Hell, which is one of my most favorite movies. I always thought it's very underrated. Directed by the Hughes brothers, starring Johnny Depp and Heather Graham. So, Igor, start with you. What did you think of the movie?
I thought it was pretty good. The Masonic references were here and there, not too much, but square and compasses were shown everywhere, as you probably would expect from a movie like this. I personally think the appearances and what they wore and just the whole atmosphere was pretty good. Some of the stuff, I don't know, we really don't focus on the pentagram that much. They do in this. And as a disclaimer, we're actually Canadian Masons, so sign symbols vary slightly from regions. So
They do, that's a good point. Although, the other thing too is the timing of this movie, right? This takes place in 1888. I should start out by warning people in advance, S for spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you want to watch it, this movie came out like 20 years ago?
I don't know.
So if you haven't seen it, spoilers. But yeah, this movie takes place in 1888. It's about Jack the Ripper. So 1888, right? There, even in our Masonic ritual in Canada, things have changed from 1888 to present, right?
Yes.
So it did seem though pretty accurate to me in terms of like I said, what the regalia. There seemed to be a lot of accuracies in it.
Yes, but certain small things stood out for me. Like they wore like their ring. The one gentleman, he wore his ring on his left wedding ring finger. A lot of Masons don't do that. It's pinkies or even by the right side. I guess personal preference. But how they depicted him, it did seem like just one guy went mad. Basically, he had his brain stroke, or a brain aneurysm. Caused them to go a little lanky. So it doesn't represent the whole Masonic order as being evil, which I actually appreciate that. We get so much flack on various spots, and people think of the craziest things. So to show a humanized version of it, I really appreciate that.
What do you think about, and this is something I always wonder about when it comes to the way Masons are portrayed in popular culture, the media. Sometimes we're portrayed as like, the Simpsons or something. We're just this, fun-loving, goofy organization. It's kind of fun sometimes when you get the conspiracy theories and the Dan Browns, even though none of that I've been a Mason for, holy cow, I've been a Mason for, I can't do math, over 12 years now. Joined 2007. You've been a Mason for
8.5 years or so?
8.5. We've yet to take over the world. We keep trying, but it doesn't seem to be happening. So what do you think, though, about, what do you prefer when you see Masonry portrayed in popular culture, or you see symbols in movies? Do you prefer it when Masons are kind of the bad guys and bent toward domination? I always think that's kind of fun.
It's fun, but you know what? It gives people the wrong idea. People who don't know Masonry is that they will jump to that conclusion because that's what they've seen. So yeah, I find it fun being as a Mason, but I think it might attract the wrong crowd to actual Masonry. People will see that and think, wow, might be what they actually do, which it is not.
No, they'd be
disappointed.
Yeah, they'd be disappointed very, very quickly. Mostly we try to, we have like pancake breakfast. It's very hard to, I don't know if you ever saw that, which one thing I want to do with you actually, which I forgot to mention, but I think it'd be really fun to, maybe we'll get a few other guys in and have a Masonic meme tournament, where we go through all the different memes on the internet.
Oh, I know we had in contact about that.
We rank them from we rank each one from 0 to 10. And whichever one gets the highest score is like the winning Masonic meme.
Oh man, that's gonna be a long day or night or whatever.
Oh, there's so many of them, but there's been some good ones. I always like the one where it's some guy lying on the ground and it says me taking a dramatic pause in ritual, and then somebody dropping an elbow, and it's 14 guys whispering from the silence. That always cracks me up.
I like the classic ones like Pinky and Brain. There's always like, what do we do tonight? Try to take over the world. That's a good tongue-in-cheek perspective on it. Masonry has a lot, but world domination isn't it. People always laugh when I hear that. They're like, oh, world domination, Masons. I'm like, we argue about what we want to eat that night. It's like you bring up a menu, and then everyone's got their own opinion, and we all equal. So like, it's done by vote, but people will change their minds, and it's funny what people perceive and what actually happens behind closed doors. So my personal story is, like he's mentioned, I've been Mason for 8.5 years. I worked for them for 7 years before joining. This is a Masonic Temple ballroom, it's a hall. We had weddings and stuff. So I started as a barback, worked to a bartender, head bartender, and then I just saw them all the time, behind closed doors. I've seen the rooms, I've helped set up the rooms when they'd have weddings. People get weddings in the blue room. And so I had to take it down, put it back up. Well before I was actually a Mason, I got used to the symbols and some of the furniture we use around the place. We had to put it away for people to come by. So for me, I got used to it, but I didn't know actually how to use it. And I'm just like, oh man, a bunch of weird guys behind closed doors. What are they doing? Can't trust it, blah, blah. I was ignorant, obviously. I had no clue. And so what changed for me personally, I was working here bartending one night, and it was one of the charitable events they always have. It was a turkey keno. So people, before Thanksgiving and before Easter, they have things called turkey kenos here. People have the opportunity of winning a turkey. It's just like bingo. There's no cash involved. It's just winning a turkey. So farms will donate turkeys, and people will try to win it. And people were just having so much fun. I was looking around like, this is what they're doing, and like they're laughing, they're joking. I felt the brotherhood there, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna join. So that night, I went up to Don Warner, because he had a shirt on that says Masons Care, and I was like, oh, he's like, I want to join. He's like, you can't. I was like, what? And he's like, this is a Shriners event. I'm like, okay, how do I join the Shriners? He's like, well, you first have to become a Mason, and then he set me down that path. For the record, I'm not a Shriner yet. Maybe one day, but for the record, I'm not. And I got into it, and I saw what it was about, the charity, the brotherhood. And it's a really good organization, and I've enjoyed my time here. It's literally helped me become a better person in more than one way. Yeah, I would not trade my time in Masonry for anything. It's been a blast. And yeah.
It's been a blast. I mean, we're lucky to have you. I joined before you a little bit, right? I joined, 12 years, but I got to know you pretty, the thing about Masonry I find is there's so many people that I know them, but I don't know I can't think of when I first met them.
You were wardens.
Is that when I first met you? Because I can't remember the first time.
I didn't visit the lodges until I became a warden. We were originally different lodges, so we just happened to be in the same building on different nights. Wardens nights happen. All the wardens get together, and then we have to coordinate between ourselves and who's doing what for that evening, and then that's when we first started talking. Eventually, we were both worship master or president. I'm not sure who's going to be watching this, so there's different titles, but we were both present at the same time.
Everybody will be watching this. Everybody will be watching this, Igor. This is being seen by dozens of people.
I believe it.
At least a dozen people. So don't you worry about that.
How did you get first into Masonry? Want to go through your story?
My story's boring. My whole family are dad is a Mason. My dad is from England. He's from Hollis, which is close to Newcastle. But he didn't actually join until he moved to Canada. He met a Canadian girl, and that's how that goes. Moved to Canada, met my mom, and got married. So both my grandfathers are Masons, or were Masons. They passed away. We know we got a great grandfather that was a Mason, and my father. So the plan was always to join. I just didn't necessarily know where I was going to join. And once I realized, I moved to Windsor for law school. I grew up in Winnipeg. I lived in Ottawa for a couple years, and then I came here for law school. And once I knew that I was going to be in Windsor for at least 3 or 4 years, I decided to join. So I just wrote a letter.
And you never left, You've been here since?
No, 12 years on, and I'm still here. So yeah, my dad is, it all came kind of from my family connections. And you don't, obviously, you don't need a family member to be a Mason or to have a connection to the craft to join. We have plenty of guys who are not, who don't have any family in Masonry, who they kind of been the one to start that tradition. So, but for me, yeah, it was family, so I always knew about it, and I always planned to join somewhere. And I just happened to pass by this temple one day, and I wrote a letter, and then somebody got back to me, and the rest is history. So yeah, my dad is like I said, a British Mason, or he's Canadian Mason, but he's from England. I can only hope that if he had joined in England, he would have been as cool as this. He would have been way more exciting. What would you say is the favorite part you had of the movie of From Hell? Was there a part you enjoyed?
So Masonically or just personally?
Just personally, just anything.
I like the atmosphere. They were at the beginning, like they sell you that it's London in 1888.
1888.
Yes. I think they did a good job like staying in character of that time period. Again, England has so much. I'm not even sure it's shocking them. You have to watch the
director's commentary. I will watch the director's commentary.
And come back to me and tell me whether they actually filmed there, because it looks there, I believe it. Yeah, they did a really good job with that. The Masonic stuff, besides the small little things here and there, it was pretty authentic, I would say. And like I've always made jokes, so like I've had people that join Masonry, and they'll ask, like I usually tell them, don't watch anything on YouTube for 2 reasons. It could be A, fake, or if it's B, if it's actually real, you don't want to spoil things for you. It's like picking up a book, you don't want to jump to the last page and be like, okay, or maybe you do, I don't know, and say that's how it ends, and you miss the journey, the experience, that really what sticks with you throughout it.
I agree. For everything, I agree in terms of the atmosphere of the movie. I thought that's one of the reasons I love it so much, is because it's got such a good atmosphere to it, and it just seems so authentic to the time period, or what you imagine the time period would be like. London in 1888. Everything's always overcast almost all the time, and it just has such a good feeling, good Gothic quality to it. I agree that Masonry, a lot of the Masonic references and a lot of the Masonic, the regalia, what they're wearing, it all seems pretty accurate with some obvious differences thrown in here and there. But yeah, for people interested in joining Masonry, I always suggest, don't do your own research. It's better to join and go through the journey that way, because you don't want to skip to the last page of the book, right?
Exactly.
But Masonry is so interesting because, or Freemasonry is so interesting because so much of it has permeated the culture in like the words that are used, and expressions and things that people say, and its depictions in movies and its depictions in TV. A lot of it has permeated the culture and the day-to-day.
I believe it's because it's grown with it, right? Masonry has officially been around for over 300 years, and you can argue it's been around much before then. So it's grown with it, and Masons have been around. But Masons now are far more open about this than they were, say, 100 years ago or so. I know that one of our brethren from the States, who are in Windsor across the river from Detroit, they've held open installations where people can go and see people getting invested, which means you kind of take a chair or an office for the lodge and help run it for the year. And so that's open to the public, and so anyone can come by and watch. Only certain lodges do that. You know what? There's a certain level of appreciation of secrecy. So when I first joined, everyone asks like, okay, there's nothing bad, so why is this all secretive? And people really have fun with the secrecy, right? If it was a secret, probably less people would join, because you can get a lot more jokes out of that. It's like, you can tell them like, oh, I'm a Mason, and like, they might believe some of this stuff on TV, and you can be like, oh, I could tell you, but I could kill you. Just like funny jokes, which are
Or is it? Or is it?
See, case in point.
Or is it a joke?
So that can be fun. People that do join, there's no hazing, but we'll poke jokes and fun.
No, you want to be enjoying. I mean, anything you do that takes up, a significant portion of your time, if it's not fun, you're going to burn out pretty quick. And the secrecy is part of that. It's also, as much as things we talk about, nothing ever stays the same in Masonry or in life. Things are always going to change. There is a consistency to Masonry since basically the official founding date is 1717. There's obviously examples of Freemasonry earlier than that. The movie, right, from Hell takes place in 1888. We're watching it in 2019. But even throughout, from 1717 to 1888 to the present, there's a consistency in our ritual, there's a consistency in what we do. Despite the changes, there's still this kernel of consistency that runs through that. And the secrecy is important because it maintains that it's a way to know that it's being honored and it's being kept safe. So not anybody can say that they're a Mason, right? They have to, if I see somebody and I meet somebody and I can confirm they're a Mason, then we have an instant bond. And that also goes for brothers who have passed away, but I see their name, or if I'm in a graveyard and I see the square compass, right? I know something that not everybody knows, but that they know. And also Masons in the future will feel the same way about us.
Sure, shared experience is pretty important. Institutions, names, stuff like that. So it pointed out that they wanted better. This one guy just went crazy, and like you can't account for every single member. Everyone has different reasons why they join. Some aren't.
Right. I dug that because I've never seen an actual Masonic trial. It is in the Constitution.
I've heard of it.
When I joined, they put me on a committee in Windsor Lodge to rewrite the bylaws, which is as much fun as it sounds. And that's the first time I ever, so the local lodges will have their own rules, their own bylaws on how they govern themselves, but those have to be in accordance with the Constitution, which governs Masonry throughout Ontario. So there was no provisions in our bylaws concerning Masonic trials, but there is a whole section of the Constitution. So I remember I was in law school at the time I was put on that committee, so I really dug the idea of the Masonic trial and what that entailed. I've never actually seen one. The only Masonic trial I've ever seen is in the movie From Hell. But yeah, I did dig that part, just to see it, and it goes to show that as Masons, we are expected to be respectful of the country in which we live and a good citizen. And
Laws, etc., etc.
And if somebody is not acting appropriately, we, obviously they have to, whatever they have to answer to that civilly, but also Masonry would probably, suspend them or not allow them to be a member anymore. Especially if it was like something like this movie, we'd probably have some ways to make sure that that guy was not a Mason anymore.
Yeah, that does happen. It's happened in the past. It'll probably happen in the future. People also change over time. Like some people, I don't know, they just, I don't want to say snap, but some people deteriorate over time. They have bad influences or traumatic events in their life, and then they spiral out of control.
the hope is Masonry is one of the good influences in people's lives, right?
Yes.
In
Well,
a
there's
lot
always
of
that
places.
joke, Masonry is only, it's one night a month is what they say, right? But 5 years later, you're only home one night a month. So there's truth to it, and that's one of the jokes we laugh about because
Save a lot of money on you don't have to cook for yourself very much.
unless you're Junior Warden,
And well, then you're cooking for everybody.
exactly.
Junior Warden has to cook for everybody. So if anybody is interested in joining Masonry, be prepared. You're going to do a lot of cooking at some point, or a lot of dishes, even if you don't. You can order the food. You saw that meme, right? It was like what I think I do.
Oh yes. What I think I do, like what my mom thinks I does, like
What you actually do is dishes.
yes.
Lots of dishes.
It does happen. It's such a fun experience, though.
So
That's part of it.
I think it's one of the most important parts of it. I think one of the things that a lot of guys don't recognize that Masonry offers is the importance of service, right? You're responsible, especially as the junior warden, you're responsible for making sure that your brothers are taken care of, that they have food, that they have, they have food and drink, and that you're there to be of service to the lodge and to your brothers. I think that's a really cool thing about it, and it's a good, lesson in humility for that year, or 2 years, or 3 years, however many years you find yourself as junior warden. All right, big question. Since we watched From Hell, I think we got to ask this big question. Igor, who do you think Jack the Ripper actually was? Do you think he was a Mason? Spoiler, in the movie, Jack the Ripper's a Mason. Nicholas James is saying no. Who does Nicholas James think? Who did Nicholas James think Jack the Ripper was?
I think he was a doctor. I think he was. Because with a knife and or syringe or whatever, right? I think he was a doctor.
He could have been a doctor and a Mason.
Yeah, he could, but the thing is that he wasn't. They never found him. Like in real life, they never found him. So no one doesn't know exactly what happened to him in real life.
That's true. So it's all this.
It has to be an educated person. Like the conspiracy theorists go really in depth on this. Like I've heard of H.H. Holmes and Chicago potentially being one.
Yeah, I heard that.
Just crazy. Like any type of serial killer, and it's this mystery that'll never be solved. I think it's educated person. I can't talk right now. Edit again.
Edit that.
He's definitely knows what he's doing. He has skill. I believe he would be a surgeon or something like that. Maybe not even a he necessarily.
Somewhere in some register is like the actual Jack the Ripper sign, which I think is kind of cool. There's some diagram somewhere.
Masonry doesn't already have bad PR. I'm glad that you want to throw more onto it, and there's no debate about it.
Trying to help it out here. There's always a few bad apples. I mean, it's fun to talk about because it was so long ago, and it's, people love, me and Nicholas James talked about it, like, people love a good mystery, right? And I think people always enjoy kind of scary stories and spooky stories and stuff like that. So yeah, it's fun to speculate about who it could be, or who it was, or what the motivations were, especially because we'll never know for sure. So it's always interesting to think about it. I mean, were there even any Masonic lodges in Whitechapel at the time?
Probably do.
Because there's, London obviously.
Whitechapel is a section of London.
Yeah. So
it probably
were the Masonic lodges in the Whitechapel area in particular?
They might not advertise back then, but lodges started from mostly taverns.
Yeah.
And by that depiction, if that's accurate, they had tons of taverns there. And so one of them, more than likely, had a lodge above it or below it. I'm not sure the exact orientation for it, or even used the bar space, but I believe that the area that those ladies worked would have had Masons in the area. You might have visited some establishments that had Masons.
Unsolved mysteries. I mean, Chatham's got to be near the top of the list.
Well, it's just so much information back then. The amount of evidence they could have collected, and it's.
I mean, it's Jack the Ripper. It's what else would be up there in terms of like people, unsolved mysteries people talking
I don't know. Personally, I find it hilarious that you chose like one of the darker ones for your first year series of Masonry. You couldn't start on a little lighter notes. You had to go straight for conspiracy theories.
That's